All right. So today's class, I'm going to go ahead and record it really quick before I go into all this. Um, so I'm started YouTube. Oh, what's up, baby?
Getting strawberries with fork.
Okay, I'll be right there. Okay, so today's class is we're going to go a little bit deeper dive on boundaries. When you're using it, and are you actually embodying them and having them from a space of love, or do you create them from fear? Are you avoiding? Or are you actually growing? And then also, like, what do you do whenever you need to get away from what's causing the pain, but you also don't want to avoid the lesson? So I think that's really important. So I wanted to go into like a story first. So, uh, there was a time that I was working with somebody and we had known each other for like 7 years, and our relationship changed. Well, it didn't change, but all of a sudden we were working together, and now I'm paying them. And when I had said, hey, now that I'm paying you, can we do this and this and this and have these kinds of meetings? And then all of a sudden, they exit out of all the groups and then just completely don't answer any of my calls. And I was like, what's going on? You can just tell me what's going on. And this person just refused to tell me what was going on. And then they thought they had set a boundary. Uh, and I was like, that's weird, because it was completely reactive. It wasn't a response to anything. And honestly, I can guess what may have happened. They may have thought, oh wow, I'm doing this work and she's paying me this much and she's expecting me to tell her what's going on, because it was a remote position. And she probably thought, I'm doing all this work, she should be able to see it. But as a remote position, unless you tell me what's going on, I can't see it. I don't know what's going on unless you put it somewhere. And so it was mainly a miscommunication, and her reaction was more to avoid the communication, because it probably made her feel uncomfortable to communicate and say, well, how she was really feeling, to be vulnerable. So she cut it off instead. Is there anything wrong with how she handled it? I would say there's no wrong or right. We're always where we need to be. And the next lesson will show up. But I do feel like we put ourselves in places and we can regress. Um, so I wanted to talk about this, not just because of that experience, but how many times have we done something like that, where we don't feel comfortable with something, so we just cut somebody off, or we avoid something that's coming up for us. And I do believe that life has this wonderful ability to bring us the next lesson. When we want something more, you don't have it because you're not in the space that it exists. You're not in that level, like energetically, you're not in that mindset to be there. And so, what happens next whenever you have another desire and you put it out there asking for it, you're going to be presented with a lesson that develops a character trait. And you get to accept the lesson or you can avoid it. Well, boundaries tend to be something that people use as a way to cover up um, their pains. And they're not actually boundaries, they're just defenses for their triggers. And this happens a lot, especially when somebody starts creating boundaries. They'll just think, well, I don't like that. I don't need to be around it. Or I don't like that. So, or that makes me uncomfortable. So you need to stop. And they'll give other people an ultimatum, or they'll give other people, hey, this is what you need to do. Now, I'm going to talk about masculine and feminine too, guys, energies in creating boundaries as well. And then also soft and hard. But boundaries are not meant to control other people's behavior. If you're having to tell someone else how to act and they're an adult, maybe they just didn't know any better, yes. But there are certain things just by growing up, they should already know better. Like, you don't, nobody likes to be lied to. Nobody wants to be cheated on. Nobody wants to be hit. Nobody wants to be yelled at. Like, there's just certain things that, like, do you really have to have somebody tell you that? Like the golden rule, treat people like you want to be treated. And if you're an adult and you can't seem to comprehend that, I don't care how many ultimatums or whatever you tell somebody, their wiring is not there. You would have to be okay, like starting from foundational, they already have incorrect wiring in that area. And you have to take the time to be able to be okay with them developing a new habit. And they have to be the one that wants to do that. You can't force it. So for me, like to create a boundary, to give somebody an ultimatum or tell them that they don't need to be acting a certain way, you're already probably dealing with the wrong fit. And that's really not the way to do it anyways. Like you embody your boundaries. And at first you may have to create them so that you can learn to embody them or understand yourself. So what I mean by that too is you have to understand what I don't think boundaries are meant to like really protect you as much as they're meant to prevent distractions on your path of alignment. So I think whenever you're making them only to protect yourself from feeling a certain way or whatever, and now I'm not talking about physically. Yes, you need to protect yourself physically and emotionally, mentally. You want to protect your heart, yes. But a lot of times we do it with avoidance instead of actually going inward. So like, let's just skip over all this rambling now. So far, does anyone have any questions or want to add something?
I'm writing stuff on my side. I don't have specific questions yet, but yeah, this is a great subject and I'd say timely in a way because I feel like this is like one of I think it's something that uh something that I could work on because sometimes I feel like situations I'm in are too complicated or the other person won't understand and I'm trying to like make sense of it in a silo before I approach someone with a way for them to understand whatever. So that's just something I've had, my whole life, to be honest. And it's tough. It's like um how do you know like it's like honesty versus transparency. Like you don't want to tell them everything, but you also want to be honest, So it's like there's a lot of rabbit holes this topic can go down. So I don't have any specific questions yet, but something I've been working through and talking about a lot lately with folks. So this is great.
Yes. Oh, I love that. And if you ever had something that the reason why a lot of us have to learn boundaries are because we did not see our parents embodying them correctly. And there's something that are either wired in you or you have to wire into yourself. And that's why they're embodied. So you don't really have to over explain them. And if you notice that you're over explaining boundaries, you're already doing it wrong. And I'll explain that too. Because that's something that I used to do a lot. And I'll be like, I don't understand why people are not liking my boundaries. I was like, I'm just surrounded by narcissists and they hate boundaries, not really taking accountability. And that's something right there with me. That thought pattern right there was me blaming and taking away all of my power and not seeing where I could make a change. So that was already unhealthy in my own space of trying to act like somebody else needs to be making sure I'm happy or upholding my boundaries. So boundaries are there to protect. Not like, and I said not really to protect you in that, you're avoiding getting hurt, like not avoiding getting hurt, but like here's another example. If you're going out there dating, but you've been hurt before, you may think you have boundaries, but you really have walls up and you don't let anyone in. You don't show any vulnerability to even be able to discern. Most people are leading with discernment in relationships when they really should be leading more with, now men, that's different, discernment. But women, they should be leading with vulnerability and then seeing how the man responds and then using their discernment. But when they come in and they're like, got the walls up and just waiting for any little trigger to be like, oh, I'm out, you're not upholding boundaries. You're not empowering yourself at all. You're not embodying anything healthy. You are trying to run away, avoid, and create walls, and then blame it on other people on why you're that way. When boundaries are there to protect your heart, but they're not here to punish people. It's how to stop self-abandoning and without shutting the world out. And without blaming the world too. So they're not rules for others, they're limits for ourselves. If you notice that you're trying to tell somebody what your boundaries are, that's because you're wanting them to uphold it. And there's a difference. I'm going to talk about soft and hard too. There's a difference between being rigid and porous and then also embodying your boundaries. And you can feel it in your body. So whenever you're making boundaries, do you feel tension? Now, at first, you may be like, yes, because I never had to have boundaries. So, like, this is very uncomfortable. There's that difference. Yes. Okay. That's good if that's what you're talking about. But if the tension is like you're angry, you feel like, guys, the map of consciousness that I've shown y'all, where it's fear, pride, anger, any of those lower level in the force kind of field, then you're not embodying anything. And like boundaries do not equal ultimatums, like I just said. They are choices with consequences that we honor, not other people. So like signs or boundaries need work. Do you feel resentful? Are you afraid of being too much or not enough? And this is actually when you need boundaries too. If you're saying yes and you mean no, your boundaries probably aren't there the right way, because boundaries really are preventing distractions on your path to alignment, your purpose. You avoid your needs to avoid conflict. You may like just know somebody gets upset, so it's just easier to do what they want you to do, but you really don't want to do it. Like that's a sign you need better boundaries. If you're somebody who complains about your boss not paying you enough, you need better boundaries. If you complain about your spouse or your partner, you need better boundaries. If you complain about anything, you need better boundaries. So boundaries can feel hard to make because it's your nervous system and your subconscious mind. So you're actually having to rewire yourself like the moment you start creating boundaries. You can't do what you've been doing this whole time. Like I said, it's not about everybody else, it's about you. So like when somebody crosses a boundary, you have to be the one to walk away. You don't have to explain yourself. Now I'm going to say this though. There is soft and there are hard boundaries. So hard boundaries are like the givens. They cheat on you. They lie to you. And you get to choose what a hard boundary is. What I mean by a hard boundary is when they do it, you don't talk about it about how to get back together and how to fix it. You're just like, this was a hard boundary. I'm out. And you get to walk away because you set the standards with your boundaries. You get to set the standard of what you're willing to accept, because boundaries are what you allow, and what you allow is what you accept. So it can be kind of hard because you'll feel that nervous system conditioning of fawning when you're just trying to please someone so they don't get upset, the freeze where you just don't do anything, and the people pleasing where you just bend yourself in all kinds of ways so that you can make other people happy. And like if you're holding up your boundaries and living in alignment, you can't be doing that. You can't be manipulating yourself in any way and not honoring yourself. Boundaries are honoring yourself in every moment. Guilt, fear of rejection, or survival attachments can also be like reasons why boundaries feel hard, is because we're scared somebody may leave us if we have a boundary. But only toxic people do that anyways. So you're not really losing anyone, but it's only if you're setting the boundary correctly. There's a lot of us who were taught to abandon ourselves or even withdraw because of the way we grew up. Our parents were more about you got to please them or be monitoring their emotions, so you're not allowed to really have your own. And if you have your own, then oh my God, you just need to go to your room. We don't want to hear all that. So our parents, they did the best they could, or maybe they didn't, I don't know. But what matters now is you're the adult and now you have the control. And now that you're aware of it, because it's all about awareness first, then you can do something about it. So you can't blame your parents. You can't blame everybody else, but you can understand where it came from. Your past can help shape you, but it doesn't define you. It doesn't, you're not stuck there. So hard and soft. The hard is like cheating, lying, hitting, yelling, whatever it may be, your hard ones. You get to choose. Maybe you don't even have any hard ones. I don't know. Like, I don't hang out with people who do drugs, like I don't hang out with people who I don't mean this in a bad way, but I don't hang out with a lot of broke people. And it's just because of the mindset. There's a huge mindset difference when you're hanging out with people with abundance mindset and scarcity mindset. I just don't vibe in scarcity mindset. We don't even have the same conversations. So I just don't belong. And boundaries keep you where you belong and keeps those that don't belong in your circle out of your circle. And so and I don't have to go up to, let's say somebody's doing meth. I don't have to go to them and say, hey, I don't hang out with meth heads. That's not embodying your boundaries. I have another boundary. I don't eat McDonald's. So what does that look like? I don't go to McDonald's. If hard boundary is don't yell at me and somebody starts yelling at me, I can say, I can respond and tell them, I don't like being yelled at. And if their response is, I don't care and continuing, then I know my boundaries exit, and if they're a dangerous person, I'll exit when it's safe. And then I just won't put myself back around that person. This is not something that you have to force or like make other people do for you. If somebody's yelling at me, I'm like, don't yell at me. And they keep yelling. And then I start yelling. And then, I'm having a problem with them. Well, that's me feeding into the chaos and drama also. So I'm part of the problem. So you have to know what your hard boundaries are and then your soft boundaries. Like a soft boundary is more like, you don't like being hugged and somebody comes up and hugs you and you can just say, hey, I don't like being hugged. Now, if that person decides to hug you again because you said that, that could be a form of actual love from them because their family may have been one of those families that boundaries were like constantly crossed and in a way was made into a joke. And so like that was my family. They made boundaries a joke. So if you said you didn't like something, that was what you're going to get every time you went around that person. And so it was like best not to be vocal about your boundaries. And so if you've been used to that, you can see that these people are not coming from a bad place. They're coming from a place of what their wiring was, what their programming was. And that, if you tell me not to hug you, then I'm going to hug you more, but that's toxic. But you get to choose. And it's all about, this is so important. You get to choose. You get to decide. And because it's not for other people to decide what your boundaries are or choose it for you or validate it or anything like that. That's for you. But so if you're dealing with that kind of person and you just realize that that's the kind of person and you don't want to cause harm, you may decide that's a soft boundary. So it's okay for that person to do it. Or you may be like, no, I said I don't like being hugged. Don't hug me. And if they do it again, then you just exit, and always exit when it's safe. Because some people take boundaries as an attack. And it's just because they're not used to them. It doesn't mean they have to be a bad person. I wish we would take more time to not judge people and think of them being bad or good. And instead, now I get it, because I've been with some toxic people and I would think that they have demons inside of them, like they're straight up evil at times. So I get it. But I don't think a whole person is just bad. I think they have bad behaviors and bad wiring at times. And it doesn't mean that there aren't really truly evil people out there. I've seen it, so I know there are. But I do think that it's more something a little bit deeper than that. So going back to this, you get to decide where you get to put yourself, who your friends are, what kind of relationship you have, how much money you make, where you work, what you look like. Yes, you do. Like some people are like, no, I don't. You have so much more control over how you look than you realize. You get to choose, and that's so important. So your soft boundaries are ones that you don't just leave somebody because of that boundary. It's a soft one. Like, I don't like being hugged. You just tell somebody, and then hopefully they quit hugging you. And then if they do keep on hugging you, you get to decide to leave or not. Um, and then on a hard boundary, if you're like, I I will leave if I get cheated on, then when you get cheated on, you need to leave. That's not something to discuss with the person. You can be like, you already knew. Um, I wish this wouldn't happen. And I gotta go now. Boundaries are not easy to uphold. Like, you may have to leave one of your favorite people. You upholding your boundaries, it's not like it just comes easy and that you have to tell somebody, I can't be around you anymore, or just not even have to say it, just do it, because of the harm they're creating in your life. Especially if you are new to creating boundaries or embodying them, is you're going to have people that aren't used to that, and you're going to have to exit their lives, and you're going to still want them to be in your life, and that can be difficult. And that's where the rewiring comes in. You're going to go through uncomfort, you're going to have growing pains, and it's painful. Growth can be painful, but you have to be okay with that. It's accepting that that's part of the process, and like regulating your nervous system to be like, hey, it's okay, because God's not going to have anything leave my life forever that was meant to be in it. So either I need to up level myself and become better, or there is better for me. Or maybe I just continue to get better anyways, and the better just keeps on getting attracted to me. That's what I really believe. So like letting it go and surrendering and allowing also is really big in boundaries, because to uphold them, you have to be able to do that, or you're going to keep on going back to the same thing that's hurting you. So you get to figure out what your hard boundaries are, what your soft boundaries are. Your hard boundaries are ones where if they happen, that's where you're like, I'm out. It's an exit. So any questions there? Every time I go to a new thing, I'm like, I gotta ask if you guys have any questions.
A lot to chew on.
Oh yeah, this has been like I think we've been going on boundaries for a while now because it's so deep on all of it. Um, so are you making boundaries out of fear, or are you making them out of love? Fear, you're avoiding. Love, you're growing, and you're honoring yourself. If you're making them out of reactiveness, I can tell you right now, you're doing it out of fear of communicating, out of fear of growing, out of fear of actually admitting you're wrong, out of fear, like there's so many things, out of fear of some kind of responsibility for something that you need to be doing, and not wanting to reveal that. You know how at times when you're actually trying to grow and change, and I don't know if y'all have experienced this, whoever's experienced this, please let me know, but where you should say something at a certain moment.
Can I have strawberries with a fork?
Yes, hold on, baby, let me finish this.
So long.
I don't get it out of the refrigerator. I'll be right there, but they're in the fridge if you want to grab them. Y'all get to meet my daughter Ava. And so with fear and with avoiding it and love and growth, you get to decide, but also the ones that you create out of fear, you're avoiding something, and it's going to keep on coming back around, and you're going to feel so frustrated in that area. If you feel frustration, or you feel resentment, if you feel some kind of tension in that boundary setting, or if you feel like, now the thing is some people get relief because they avoided something, and now they feel a temporary sense of relief. But did it actually help you? Is it helping you hide something, or is it helping you actually grow? This is all important to really be asking yourself. Are you protecting your healing, or are you avoiding the discomfort of something? And are you communicating? just now, there's one thing, if somebody does something that is just unspeakable and you decide you're out, you're gonna ghost them, that's up to you to ghost them. You don't have to give everybody an explanation why they're not in your life anymore. But it would help to let people know, like if they're dangerous, you don't have to say all this, but if somebody like even if somebody cheated on you, if you love them, I think I think we should all communicate and just be like, hey, I need my stuff. It's not going to work. And be mature about it. Just the maturity sometimes isn't always there for everybody. But if hey baby, can you go back in the living room? Um, if, thank you. If you are
I was
noticing that you're more frustrated, okay, baby, I'll be in there in about 30 minutes, okay? Um, if you are more finding that you're frustrated, or if like I said, tense, any of that, then afterwards, like at any point you feel like maybe you did it wrong, it's okay to realize you did it wrong. And then you could go back and talk to the person and say, hey, this is why I got upset. I thought you should know, because sometimes people don't know what they're doing. We have all kinds of perceptions. We got autistic people, we got ADD, we got ADHD. You got all kinds of things going on with people, where some people just don't pay attention to certain things. And it's not that they're doing that to harm you, it's just they didn't know any better. And that's where communication comes in. Are you communicating what's actually bothering you? And are you communicating it from the right energy? So this is where we're going into masculine and feminine energy. So if you're now, I do think that masculine and feminine energy is in all of us, and we should learn how to marry the two and know how to use both of them when they need to be used, because they both have their own powers. Like masculine is assertive, it's doing, it's getting things done, it's protective, it's providing, it's leadership. And then you got your feminine that's nurturing, flowing, somewhat chaotic but creative, and uh, and beauty and abundance. And so, like, it's unlimited abundance. While the masculine is output, or input equals output, the feminine is the only energy that you can actually get unlimited abundance, because it goes beyond input and output. It receives and multiplies. And so that's why I think the two married together inside of yourself is really important. And then when you see that both on the outside, the masculine and the feminine coming together, you've got a very powerful energy right there. It's the energy of creation. You can make anything happen at that point if you're with the right person. So, and it's not about changing the person. People create boundaries to change people a lot. It's about honoring that person and yourself where you are right now. It's not about seeing potential in people and saying, hey, I see your potential, let me force it out of you. If somebody wants their potential to come out, their efforts and their actions will show it. That was something that I had to learn the hard way, was because I would date people based on potential. And I would be like, and when you're younger, the more likely you're going to do this, because people aren't really doing much in their life. But I have another story on how to decide that too. But people get to decide what they're willing to let out and what they're not. Not everybody's going to hit their potential. In fact, not many do. I think 2%, 1% do. So just because you find somebody with potential doesn't mean you're going to be with somebody who actually reaches that potential. So this is an example. I was talking to somebody and they were younger. They're in their, I think she's 21. And she said that she's with a boyfriend, and he needs his GED, and she's already gone to college. She's got licenses. She's been working at her own car, has her own place. And he is her roommate who didn't have a car. She has to bring him everywhere. And they started dating. And I was like, well, do you feel like he's your equal? And she was like, well, he's got so much potential. And I said, no, currently, is he your equal in the way he thinks about things? She goes, what do you mean? He's just had a hard life, so he has a GD. And I said, what was so hard about his life? And she was like, well, he said he was just made stupid decisions. And I was like, so he made his life hard. Okay. And so he doesn't have a GD. He doesn't have, and I was like, whatever it is he works. She's like, McDonald's. And I was like, okay. And what are you trying to become? And she goes, a psychiatrist. And I said, so will you be happy as a psychiatrist with a guy that works at McDonald's that doesn't have a car? And she was like, no, I mean, he's going to have to do something different. And I was like, you have to be happy with the person where they are. And I understand he's younger, but how do you know that somebody's going to grow into their potential? Well, I asked her, I said, well, you go to college, you have your car, you have an apartment, you have all this going on. What was the difference in your mindset and his? And she goes, well, I knew I needed to get it done, so I did it. And I was like, but he knows he needs to get it done and he doesn't do it. You see the difference? And I was like, you don't have to force people to reach their potential or try to talk them into it over and over. Like, I can't force you guys to do anything, no matter how great the information I give you. That's not what this is about. You get to see how people handle their own potential. And if you make excuses for other people, be aware, be careful doing that, making excuses, because if somebody wanted to do it, they would be doing it. I had bought my first house at 19. So like when people say, oh, women aren't this, what? Like, no, like you get to decide what you choose to believe too and what you get to see. And so I told this younger girl, I said, you get to decide what you put up with. And she was like, but he treats me so well. And I was like, yeah, but it's not just about that. Because later on, there's going to be arguments about money. There's going to be arguments about like how lazy he is. There's going to be arguments about all this. Like, is he disciplined? Does he have self-control? Does he have goals? Is he going after the goals? Not just talking about them, but is he going after them? And she was like, no, 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 no. And I'm like, girl, you're in love with his potential. So keep your options open. And and so to me, it's not about like seeing other people's potential and trying to bring it out of them. It's seeing, or is that person even trying to do it themselves? Because if you are somebody who you're going after your potential, but you're with somebody who's not, yeah, it's going to cause a disconnect because you aren't growing together. But it depends on what kind of relationship you want. Some men just want a woman who just stays home and takes care of the kids, and that he isn't looking for her to be all of that. It just you get to decide. Um, really, the biggest thing is you get to decide. So, if you want to have healthy boundaries, you make it from a place of empowerment, out of love, out of a place of knowing that you're honoring yourself and also honoring those around you, because I want to love everybody. So I'm going to put you in the position you have put yourself in. Like, I'm not going to rewrite the picture anymore. I'm not going to make excuses for you. If you're not stepping up to the level of the people who are allowed in my inner circle, then yeah, you can be out there, because the level that I want around me are people who aren't going to intentionally hurt me or even accidentally hurt me. They're aware enough not to have that happen, because you do have people who accidentally hurt you because they're so freaking unaware. And then you get to decide too, like, do you want that in your life? You get to decide your standards. So let's discuss boundaries as a space for healing, because sometimes you kind of need help because there's so much coming at you that you can't just all take it all on at once. It's a lot for your nervous system. It's a lot for you. And you may start noticing you're wanting to shut down, because that's what happens when the nervous system is like overdone. It'll shut down, or even your adrenal glands will be depleted and it will force you to shut down. So instead of getting yourself to the place of your body forcing you to shut down, if you can just take it one thing at a time, and then the other stuff just it may feel like avoiding, but it's like you're penciling it in, like, I'm going to handle this thing that's coming at me right now, and then I'm going to handle that one next. So it's okay if you need to like put some stuff out there and not really have to deal with it if you're dealing with a bunch. And like, not everybody has many of those moments, but we usually have at least a few of those moments in a lifetime. So I want to say that it's okay. You don't have to like hold yourself, be graceful with yourself, guys, when you're doing all of this. But it's okay if you feel like, hey, I really do need to cut this person off right now, because I don't have the emotional regulation to deal with it. Mhm.
I got the
Oh, thank you. Can you go in there and make me another picture?
I very want strawberries.
Okay, I'm so sorry, baby. I just
Starving.
fed you before we came in here for that reason. Here, let's go make me some pictures and I'll be in there. Sorry guys, tried taking care of her before the meeting. But she's growing right now. So embodiment. What was I saying? Oh, yeah, you're allowed to take the space to heal. You're don't be too hard on yourself, but also don't keep avoiding everything either. Like if you're ever in one of those spots where you just need some space to think about it, give yourself space and even communicate that, hey, I just need some space right now. I need some time to think, or I need some time to process my feelings before I come back. But always come back if you're going to set that up, because then you would be stonewalling somebody, and that's really not fair to do. So, and how we treat others, it like we have a part in our brain that doesn't know there's a difference between you and other people. So, how you treat other people does affect how you feel about yourself. If you're kind, if you're understanding, patient with other people, that means you're going to feel that way with yourself too. And there's not going to be some kind of weird, guilty feeling in you. Unless you're a psychopath, you don't really have that problem. But most of us, we have that empathy. We actually feel some kind of way when we're treating somebody badly. Even if at first it feels like you feel good because it's like you're letting off all this anger, this steam or whatever, but afterwards you're probably going to feel bad because it was just a reaction, not really a response. So, any questions on giving yourself like space, but not avoiding when it comes to boundaries? Okay. So embodied boundaries and forced boundaries. I was talking a little bit about this, and you can feel a difference in your body. But at first, you may not notice it. It's subtleties. A lot of things are subtle, where like maybe at first you cut somebody off and you feel empowered because you cut them off. You finally you're done with that, but you're avoiding a lesson. And so in the end, you didn't learn, and then now another lesson came up for you. Well, that's going to be a sign that you created the boundary wrong, or you did it wrong. And that's okay. Life is going to show you this stuff. As long as you're willing to see the reflection and look in it as a mirror and not like everybody else is the problem, then you can learn. And so their body boundaries are lived, they're known, they're felt, they're embodied. You show them with how you treat yourself and the standards you hold. Like, if you hold and embody certain boundaries, certain people are going to feel uncomfortable right away being around you just because of the boundaries you embody. You repel those that aren't meant to be in your circle and you attract those that are. And that's the importance of having boundaries. It is to stay in that alignment so you can attract what's meant for you. You're not being distracted into things that are not. You're not trying to bring up things that weren't meant to come with you. You're not trying to do this helpful people pleasing, let me save you, let me fix you because I see all this wonderful stuff in you. When this person doesn't want to do it, and you're frustrated because, oh my God, but can you see how amazing you are? Like, if you're that kind of people pleaser and you see the great in everybody, this could be something that you have to work on, and understanding that your boundaries are for yourself, for you to honor, for you to uphold. It's not, and when you first start making boundaries, I think it's funny, I see it on Facebook a lot, but like people will like announce it, like, I am no longer doing this. Or I'm da 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 da. Almost like I'm gonna announce it to the world, so now the world has to uphold my boundaries because now they know. Like, nobody cares. You know, when it really comes down to it, nobody cares. Some people that feel that same way as you will relate and be like, hell yeah, girl, that kind of stuff, but nobody really cares unless they see themselves in it. And so it's like, it's all for you on what you want to do so that you don't have to justify, you don't have to yell, you don't have to beg to honor your boundaries because it wasn't for someone else to do for you. And the more you live your truth, the less you have to defend it. Defend your boundaries, defend your standards. Like, really, you don't really have to defend your boundaries ever, as long as you're embodying it and you're honoring them yourself. Like I said, it's not for other people to agree with. And you get to decide how easy you want things to be for you. This is going to be the work really is on the internal. And then the outside becomes easier. It's whenever you try to work on the outside that it's hard. And then the internal feels easier because you're not dealing with it. But if you work on the inside, all the outside tends to fix itself. Because it's always a reflection. And you get to see where are you and where do you really lie in everything by looking at the reflection in those areas of your life. And seeing, is this telling me something about myself? What is it telling me about myself? Oh, that is so good. Thank you, baby. Oh, thank you.
I can get my strawberries.
Okay, I'm about to be off here. I'll get your strawberries. Okay, so here I'd like to open it up for you guys on what your biggest struggle with boundaries are right now. If you've ever set a boundary and it totally backfired or made you feel worse, what's your situation in life right now that maybe even calling for a new boundary, but you're not sure how to set it? Is there anything that you guys would like to share? Oh, boundaries with a family member. This is a good one, Erica. Okay, because sometimes, I mean, it's not like you can just walk away like if it's your kid. Don't yell at me. I'm out. Like your kid's like, what? um, or even somebody you're married to. It's not like you can just every time they do something and just be like, I'm out. I don't get I'm not honoring our vows. So like it's really about so it depends on the boundary and the family member and the dynamic, honestly. But if you don't feel like you're honoring yourself, first I would start with vulnerability. And that would be telling them how you feel and not projecting your emotions on someone else or blaming them. And what I mean by not blaming your emotions on someone else is saying, I'm upset because you did this. That is not taking accountability for your own emotions. That's projecting it onto somebody else as their problem, that they caused you that emotion. But really, the fact is, it's your thoughts about what's going on that drop down a hormone into your bloodstream. And then your conscious processing of it created the feeling that's still there. So it has more to do with how you're thinking about a situation too than anything else. So like is the boundary something that like is it a hard boundary? Is it a soft boundary? How like who is it that you're having to set it with can make a difference. But I would just start off with like, hey, I feel sad. And sometimes people aren't in the space to receive that. So you do have to ask people, can I share with you how I'm feeling? Or may I share how I'm feeling? Let people be receptive to you. This is a big thing. And this is something I didn't learn until way later, because I would just be like entitled to them listening to me and just putting it out there. But I would share your feelings first and make sure they're receptive of it first. Don't do it in the heat of an argument because people are not going to be receptive even if they say yes. Most of the time, you're going to have to talk to somebody who's emotionally mature if you're going to deal with them in the middle of an argument. But something that you guys should know about men and women, we process differently. So men in an argument, this has been studied, so you guys can look up this stuff, but men in an argument can't be logical and emotional at the same time. So if a man's emotional in an argument, you have to give him at least 10, 15 minutes And hopefully he's not steaming it, like just ruminating in it. You, a woman though, can be emotional and logical at the same time. So we can process logic while we're being emotional. So a woman, you can talk to her even when she's being emotional, but it really depends on the woman and her maturity level, her emotional maturity level. Because if she's not very emotionally mature and she may be more in, she's not really in her feminine, she will be more reactive. And instead of embodying that flow like a feminine energy has, she'll be more reactive because she's wounded. So it depends on the person. It depends on you and everything else that's going on. So you do have to make discernment on uh what's best. But like I said, first be vulnerable, share your emotion, how you're feeling. Now, if you're a guy, you do this differently, by the way. So as a woman, you share your vulnerability, you share how you're feeling, and then if they're not receptive of it, see if you can do it at another time that they're more receptive. Okay. But once they're receptive of it and you share it, you see how they respond to you. Are they responding in a place of wanting to know more, wanting to understand you? Because if I'm like, I'm upset, if you care about me and my feelings, your natural response will be usually, why? You want to know why? What's going on? And then you can say, because this and this happened, or because you lied to me. And then you get to see how they respond to you again. Like you can't play out everything. You have to be okay with taking one step at a time. And then you get to see how they respond. And you respond based on their responses. And remember that hurt people hurt people. So if they are trying to hurt you during this process, they're not in the place to be receptive. And they're not in the place to actually show you that loving side that you're needing at the moment. And so don't force people into that space. They have to be there because they want to be there. But if you can't ever talk to someone about your emotions and them care, you get to decide, is that the kind of relationship that you want? Now, if it's your children, I would say you wired them along with your significant other or whoever raised them. So it's like you got to look at how you raise them and what have you been teaching? What have you been embodying them? What have you been showing them? And so that you can change that in yourself, because as long as they're still living with you, you have a chance to embody something differently and change your children's behavior, because children are just wiring and programs off of you and everybody else that they've been around. So instead of taking it too harshly on your children, I would say people need to really look at themselves, because you're the one that's wiring them. Did that help? Erica? Yeah, okay, awesome. Yeah, but that was a great question. Anyone else? Something that I've noticed is like a lot of us that have gone through pain, we have shut off different parts of ourselves. The parts that we felt like helped make the pain even painful in a way, or even allowed it, we'll just shut off different parts. And as a woman, vulnerability is so powerful, because it's through our vulnerability that we can actually practice discernment. Because like I said, if we're practicing discernment before we have vulnerability, we're cutting off people, we're creating walls. Okay, Erica said, yes, this has been very helpful. This has helped me take a look at myself. Awesome. It's all about self-awareness. We have so much power and so much control. And we just, it's awesome. I just want to scream it off the top of the roof, on the top of the rooftops to everybody. But we'll cut different parts of ourselves. We'll have like pain, and we'll create boundaries, which really are the walls, or we'll start getting controlling towards people. And then what we're not seeing is the areas in us that really is needing some attention. Oh, baby.
I need strawberry.
Okay. I'm ending the class.
Strawberry.
Okay. Get a snack in the bottom drawer.
snack?
I made her a drawer so she can get snacks too. So with with these pieces that we cut off of ourselves, we tend not to be vulnerable. We don't share, and it's hard. It can be difficult if you're not used to being vulnerable. Or even if you got punished as a kid being vulnerable, it can be extremely difficult to do it. I know because I've been there. But without vulnerability,
There's no snacks.
oh, there isn't. Okay, I'll be right there. Okay. Okay, baby. I'll be right there. Or you could get the strawberries out too.
Mom, I'm hungry
You want me to get them out?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna end this right now.
I'm
Okay.
starving.
All right. All right. I'm sorry. Okay. So I've got to go, guys. My daughter is starving. So, but with this boundaries, it's really more about staying in alignment. Stop being distracted. Stop trying to force people to come along with you. Stop trying to do anything that's not really honoring yourself in every moment. So that you can be in alignment. You can be that love that you really are. You can shine that divinity that's right inside of you. Because without good boundaries, we're staying distracted and we're allowing ourselves to get hurt unnecessarily. The places that you feel like that you may have been cutting yourself from not being vulnerable as a woman, I would say start trying to work on that because it is so powerful, but it can be difficult in the beginning. But just saying how you feel without projecting on anyone. As a man, it's about leading. It's about now, if you want to talk about your feelings, it's best not to really put that on a woman because we won't trust you as much, just to be honest. If a man can't handle his own emotions, how can he handle mine? If uh Now that's not meaning that you don't look for empathy from your woman, nourishment, nurturing. Yes, she should be there to be nurturing and that kind of stuff, but there's a huge difference between a woman who's nurturing as your significant other and a mother. You know, as a man, I would say with the feelings, share that with other men, emotionally mature, aware men, and or a coach or somebody like that. And because men are the leaders, they're the chasers. Women are receiving you, so they need to make sure that they're receiving the right person by being vulnerable. And this is in a heterosexual relationship, and somebody could be gay, and one could be more feminine, one could be more masculine. We always attract the opposite of the energy that we are. So if you're more of a masculine woman, you tend to attract more feminine men. And I will tell you, more feminine men are going to be more abusive. When a man is more in his masculine, he's protective, he's leading, he's providing, he's taking care of things. And it's difficult to be a man because you guys have a lot on your shoulders. And having a woman there by your side who can be vulnerable and who can take you, give you that space to be able to, and I'm not saying a man can't be able to break down in front of his wife or anything like that. That momentarily that's great, but if he's doing that every day and crying all the time, guys, I did have a guy that cried all the time when I was around him, and I just could not handle it anymore. That was too much on me as a woman to deal with. He needed a psychiatrist or something. And there's nothing wrong with people who need that. I'm not trying to make fun of him for that. It was just there was a lot of stuff he was trying to make me his counselor instead of getting somebody who was, and he wasn't paying me for that either. So as a man, when you're setting boundaries, you have to set it from a space of strength, and it's not really also something where you tell everybody how to act. Some people think being a woman being submissive to you is her just being obedient, and there's a huge difference between obedience and submission. And that's something else I can talk about later. But a man does it from telling somebody what he wants or what he does not like. He doesn't have to share his feelings. He would be like, hey, don't do that. Like if a woman is going out and doing something and he's like, I don't like you, I don't want you wearing that. And if she's like, well, I'm going to wear whatever I want, okay, then you as a man get to decide, do you want to be with a woman who dresses like that when she goes out? And you'd be like, nope, not interested. And she may be like, oh my God, he didn't accept me the way I am. That who cares? You know, you get to decide what you want. And that masculine feminine energy does make a difference in how you set boundaries. And also how you hold yourself in your power. And we can go more into the feminine and masculine side of things for the next time. But for next week, what we're going to be doing is in our group, and this is for the ones that are in the paid group, we're going to go in a deeper dive, a question and answer about this, and we can go deeper on the masculine feminine side of setting things. But anybody else have any questions? All right. Well, there's no more questions. I really appreciate you guys being here. Thank you for letting me serve you and listening today. If you have anything else that comes up, we'll be meeting next week and I'll talk to you guys then. But remember, boundaries are for you and you.